This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections.
Yes, welcome to Race in Action Today. We have with us today two very special guests, and I can't say enough about my fellow Lion members who are here tonight. We have the creator of the Agricultural Museum at the Berlin Fairgrounds, tractor specialist, and noted historian on John Deere tractors. And that's not the only thing he does. He does some red tractors too, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Dave Alcas, how you doing, buddy? And along with him, we have special Lion Ron Bosco, who is here to guide us a little bit too. And tonight's show is going to be kind of interesting because we're going to talk about the tractors and how you came about to build this museum,
Right.
Dave. Now tell me, how did this all start? When you were a kid, number one,
Yeah.
did you have like little tractor toys, or how did this start? Tell me.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Larry, when I started out, I was only 18, and I started working on a farm when I was 11 years old. And it was across the street from my house, where I live now, and Maple Shade Farm. And two brothers over there, Donald and Norman Munson.
Munson, yes.
Munson brothers. And I worked with them, and then when I got a little older, they trusted me to go in and run in the tractors that they had on the farm. Basically, they were John Deere lovers, and they had a tricycle MT. That's the model of it. It's more or less.
Now, were these two-cylinder jobs?
These were two-cylinder. The MT.
I mean, they're
was an upgrade.
special, right?
Oh yeah,
They're kind of an antique now, right?
Yeah, the old tractors there, the A's, the B's, and D's, and any one of them, the H, they were all what they call coffin block engines in them.
Wow.
They were horizontal instead of vertical, and that was the beginning. And then when I was a kid, I was still working there. They went out and they bought me a little LA, which I have in the museum, the first tractor I
Yes,
ever
we have
owned.
pictures of the green tractors. I hope as we talk, they'll bring him in, you know.
Yeah. So I can make it short because I could talk for 2 hours on different things.
Well,
there.
I know you could,
And,
but that's how it all started.
Well,
you
we
worked
started-
on a farm there,
We started
right?
that way, and then while we were at the fairgrounds and everything, we never had a true tractor museum. They used a little right now where the historical society
yes.
is. We had one little tractor in there, and they pushed it out of the way all the time when they wanted. But
Well, they had the hit and miss engines.
yeah,
huh?
we had hit and miss
Pop,
Woodies,
pop, 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 pop.
yeah,
You remember?
woodpeckers and all that. But anyway, we decided that my wife and I would go down to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we would go see the rough and tumble down there. And they had a big building down there. It's called the Oil Pull Rumley, where the big traction machines were.
Yes, yes.
So we fell in love. We walked through there and everything, and I said, boy, we'd love to have this in our fairgrounds. So we got the number off of King Construction, off
Yes.
the top of it, and we called them and said, well, is it available, doable, a fairway? And says, well, we have a representative out in Danbury. And so it was Georgia Hinckley, a woman. So she came over, and I met with her and showed her there. He said, yeah, okay, there's no problem. And we can do that. He gave us a good price on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to divulge the price. It wasn't much, but
Well, back then it didn't matter. Money back then it was different.
yeah, the financial status was a lot different then.
Now,
we started this in 2004.
Now, were you collecting tractors prior to this?
We had a few, yep. We kept them up to the farm up the street there, and I had probably a half a dozen already. That some were restored and some weren't restored.
Well, I gotta interject here. I remember that we were kids, and you had this Model A. What do they call them things?
A doodlebug.
Doodlebug,
Yeah,
right?
cut down, yeah.
And to this day, I still remember them. And you have a funny story about that doodlebug and me, don't you?
I can tell you, Larry, I think you skipped out on church, St. Paul's Church that day. So you came over It happened to be a muddy day in the backyard over there. This had chains on it, and this had what they call mechanical brakes on the
Now,
back.
this was a Model A just cut down, right?
Cut down, yes.
Yeah.
There was no body on it, and it had a bigger rear end in it for traction. And
Probably
all,
two transmissions,
in
yeah.
it. If people know what a doodlebug, a homemade tractor, that's what they called them. Well, I had a pipe on the brake for a brake that I reached back, and Larry was riding on the back of it, and he's holding on to the pipe, and I went to take off, and the pipe slid off, and he fell in the mud over there, covered with mud.
I knew he would remember
and we
that.
were laughing, but I said, "Oh my God, I'll never forget that."
But that was the start of it all, really.
Yeah. The old farm, actually, my house right now is right where the farm used to be. We had a little farm. We had a regular family farm over there.
Yeah.
We had a big farm. My mother
Now,
and father
if
had
I'm
6
not
kids there.
mistaken, you have the tractor from Munson, right?
We've got both of them. We've got the John Deere 80 he had that we used up there, and I have the MT in my collection over there.
Yeah.
And the whole thing started when I went to the neighbors, all the farmers that are around here, and I told them what I wanted to do, put a museum up.
And they were all for it.
Everybody stepped up to the plate, and they were handing me money and checks and the thing. I literally started out with like 20 grand to start with.
Yeah,
just put my basics together, you know.
And then once you got the building, I mean, you had to fix up some of these tractors, right?
Yeah, well, we had the building going, and once the building was going, a lot of people say, "Oh, too big. You don't need anything that big and everything."
How big is that? How big is the building?
Well, the building's 60 feet wide, and right now it's 240 feet long.
Oh, wow.
We have a handicap
Well, we had an
restroom
addition,
and
though.
everything.
We had an addition, though, at some point.
Yeah, we had it. That's with the addition.
Yeah,
It was 220 to begin with.
Yeah.
But we turned around, and they stepped up. They made the donation, and at the time, Jimmy Roach was doing the north lot with millings that we got from the state for the Berlin Turnpike.
Yeah.
So he said, "Dave, if you want, I'll push the topsoil off, and we'll go ahead and start the building up."
Wow.
I had the permit and everything from the town, had to go through planning and zoning, and they went to, "Hey, good luck, Dave, go ahead and do it," you know?
Yep.
So we stepped up and we started doing it. And a lot of the people who brought it before the board, they agreed, go ahead and do it. And we moved when actually we had the Amish come up from Lancaster. They brought all their the equipment. They brought all the trusses.
It didn't take them
everything.
long. It didn't take them long, I bet.
No, they started at. They were supposed to be a week earlier than when they came up.
Yep.
And they had a death in the family for one of the Amish fellas. So the Amish guy, they said whenever there's a death, they all gather together and all. But I said, oh my gosh, now they're going to have an excuse. They won't have it ready or anything. And the guy said, look, Dave, he said, don't worry, I'll put 2 groups on. And by God, they lived up to their word. So they came up there and they brought all the equipment up and everything to do it, the high lifts and all.
Yep.
And I got pictures of it where they hammered it together and put it all together. And we have a couple of actually construction fellows that are in our club that were actually watching them build this, and they looked down through and they said, "This is absolutely beautiful. It's not out of place or nothing."
They do good work.
1 week
They
they
do
came
good
over
work,
there and they handed
yes.
me the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, and the viewers should know, Berlin at one time was heavily involved in farming.
Oh yes.
There was more cows than people, I like to say.
I think at one time.
It was heavily involved in the milk business. And now, because of that, Dave, a lot of these farmers and relatives of the farmers ended up giving you tractors that were actually used in our town,
Well,
right?
this is, even to this day, right now, that building's been up 20 years now, and almost maintenance free. The way they built things there, we haven't had to put any maintenance into it other than putting a handicapped restroom on to accommodate for people.
Yeah,
We've had shows there for the FFA that came down, and I tour them throughout, and we've had one from Middletown and one from Southington that came over. And they were appalled just to see the kind of and the condition of them. And
well, let me tell you, Dave, when we have the fair every year, I go down there and watch, and the people are on you like ants on a piece of candy. And they want to know every little thing about a tractor. And the
right,
good
Larry.
thing is, there's not only John Deere tractors. I mean, there's farm malls.
Yep.
And the other interesting thing we should tell the viewers, in our town, the only tractor dealer that I could remember was the Alice Chalmers dealership on Chamberlain Highway.
Yes.
It was the Wallach family. Am I thinking right?
Yeah, I've had at my house when in the wintertime I usually bring one over because I've got all the equipment. I got welders and torches and all the equipment to restore these tractors. And what I do is I get it all straight as any leaks, performance, do valve jobs, engine, rings, whatever it needs. And we had Eddie DeVivo from Daco Bus. He would come over, and he stopped by all the time on his way home. He lived over on Edgewood Road there. And he said to me, I was working on an Alice Chalmers D14.
Yeah.
And he said, where do you get all these parts from? You have to go all the way up in Route 7 and all. I said, Eddie, you've been in this town all your life. Don't you remember we had an Alice Chalmers dealer in here? That's how all these Alice Chalmers came here.
That's right. They were orange, right?
Yeah,
Matter of fact, we have an orange picture. I would like to show the viewers about this, this Alice Chalmers, special color and all, right?
Yeah,
now,
they were orange.
Was that a local? The picture I have of was that a local tractor? Was that Sunny Border? Is that no?
We wound up with almost all of those Alice Chalmers that were sold in the area. They had 3 D14 Alice Chalmers, which we have 2 of them in our museum. One was from the Tchaikovsky family, and the other one is from Sunny Border Nursery.
Sunny Border Nursery,
Pierre Bennerup.
Yeah.
And they're both restored in the museum. And we've got another one that we just got from Larson's over in Southington there. They kind of rendered it, they wanted to put it in the museum, and I did it over, and Timmy Larson sold a farm over there and moved up to Enfield, and he turned around and he came there last year and looked at it. He says, my God, this is better than it was brand new, we did a lot of work on it, and it ran good. He got on there and he was smiling from ear to ear.
That's the other thing I want the viewers to know. When you go to the tractor museum at the fairgrounds, every one of those tractors will run. Every one of them.
Yeah, 90%. There's some of them that they will run if you want to put the work in there. As long as they turn over, and even if they don't turn over, they're seized up.
I've seen you in action.
No problem.
I've seen you in action, buddy. You'll get something run, hell or high water.
I still get calls from people. I think I got right now, to this date, probably 3 of them that want me to do different things for it. I was just there last Sunday over in Palmwell. A fella has a TO30 Massey Ferguson.
Yeah.
He thought it was a Ford 8N. I walked through the door and looked at it. I says, Gary, this isn't a Ford 8N. Well, it said Fortson on the front of it, on the serial number. I said, no, it's a TO30. Z129 engine and a Continental engine and all. He said, my God. So anyway, we looked it over, and so I got to bring it in and get it going for him, and then he's going to decide. And a lot of the ones that we store, I've restored probably half a dozen tractors for different people. I did one, a Ford 8N they were using in parades, and the thing of it is, some of these people, they have so much money in them that, you say, they say, look, this is an heirloom. My father had it.
That's
my
right.
grandfather had it, and they said,
we want this thing to keep running until we die,
so
right?
They want to use it in parades and take the kids down the cul-de-sac or so with them in a little wagon and all that. So, but when they get through, they take a picture. They're so happy. That's the appreciation that you get out of it.
Well, I have to tell you, and I know you got your green hat on. You're the green tractor man, but you also have one of my favorite tractors. The Farmall Cubs.
Oh, yes.
With the wide front end.
Yeah.
You have many of them, I assume you got, I don't know how many.
we've got in our collection right now 2 of them, and I did one over for Horrible Brothers.
Yes,
which
we
he
have
brings in.
red. We have pictures of red ones. That's what.
Yeah.
That's how they came. They were red.
Yeah.
And this past fair, you had a special one that belonged to a family that were tied into string beans that are sold locally.
They were tied up with Collins Bean Factory over
Yes.
in Rocky
Yes.
Hill. And lo and behold, Blue Ridge was not an agricultural area in Berlin. And they turned around and called me up. And Lorraine, she says to me, we got a farm hall. I think I don't know what it is, but it's underneath the lean-to over there. They had
Yeah.
Good thing they had it undercover. So I said, all right, I'll stop up and take a look at it. I looked at it. The tires were good on it.
And
the engine wasn't frozen up or
you
nothing.
thought you knew where every tractor was in town, did you?
Yeah, we stole. Most of the time, I know somebody will tell me about, there's one over there on Webster Street over by Connecticut Light and Power. I said, nah, that's not a John Deere. That's an Oliver over there.
Yeah.
I wound up with my museum. We got Olivers. We got John Deere's. We got Minneapolis Molines. Like
That
we were talking
Minneapolis Moline, I don't know if viewers recognize the name, but your backhoes, they sold backhoes they were in that business.
That's right.
They were one of the best backhoes you could buy.
Yeah, Stop and Shop, where it is right now in Berlin, used to be Deep House Equipment, and they sold Massey
Old
Harrison,
Minneapolis
the old
Molines.
Minneapolis Molines, the old style.
Did you
Back
ever
then,
hear that, Ron?
I did not.
No.
I'm learning something here tonight.
In the highway departments, they used to use them for sidewalks and all
Yes.
that.
Oh, yeah. They were very
Big
popular.
engine, heavy. They were a
Yep.
very heavy
Yep.
tractor, Minneapolis Moline. But we're not prejudiced to anything. I mean, no matter what it comes in there, and
Case,
I do have.
right? We have Case tractors.
I have Case. I wound up there where Rebecca Lobo was up in Springfield or in Massachusetts, about a mile from her house. I located a big Case LA tractor.
Wow.
And it was in 1949, one of the biggest cases that they made back then. And the engine was seized up. I did buy that, and I got it very reasonable. And I brought it home, and I had it out on the lawn for just a lawn ornament.
Yeah.
And right after that, I decorated with lights and all that, and then I decided I better bring it in. I wound up pulling the head off of it, freed the pistons up, and I wound up getting the head gasket and valve cover gasket and the manifold gaskets for it.
Let me tell you, Ron,
Washington State.
there's very little this man cannot do with a tractor. I'll tell you
we
that
had a lot
right
of-
now.
But it's a lot of fun, though.
Yes.
Any one of these, a lot of people will say you got a woman on the phone or something, that parts and all. And I'm just going back to that L.A. case. I had the part number. It was a Victor 80 on the gasket.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm gonna,
part of collecting is getting the history behind it and researching it. And believe it or not, sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah, most of the time, if you know where the serial numbers are and all, I've got charts and books and all. In fact,
you know where to get parts too.
You can still get parts. I mean, there's a couple of parts places that you can open that up. It's like a Bible.
Yeah.
They'll tell you there's Cockshut, you got Avery, you've got Ford, John Deere, you name it, Minneapolis Moline, any ones you want. And in the front of them, they show you the listing for serial numbers.
Yeah.
So all you do is get the serial number off, and you can look at it, whether it's 1945, 1940,
And you
whatever.
get prints too, right? You literally
And you look at that, and you
they
can
have
buy any
drawings. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
you can buy anything you want. I mean, and they're not really that expensive.
Now tell me, Dave, fooling around with these tractors all these years, is the John Deere the most that people are sought after, or no?
It depends on what area. If you were in an area like out west and all, most of them like the big tractors, the big John Deeres and all. Like when I went out, my wife and I, Paula, we toured the John Deere factory, probably 12 years ago. and we went through the factory and all, and they had a combine that came off, and there had a
Oh, wow.
42-foot mouth on it.
Right there.
For it was going to Australia, and they had the fellow there that was going to drive it off the line, and they gave him the golden key to it, and we watched him drive that thing off the line, you know.
Now, let me ask you a question. What is the furthest you traveled to get a tractor? Now, he has equipment to bring these back to his house. Now, what is the furthest you've gone?
I've traveled out. We went to an auction down in Yuma, Arizona,
Arizona?
which was right close to California. If
Oh,
you know
my
where
dear.
Yuma is, right down in the
Yeah.
corner
Yeah.
of it. But we wound up coming back. My niece had a place over in Queens Creek, right
Yeah.
near Phoenix.
Okay.
And we were over there I was trying to find her house that I hadn't been there before. And we went down this little dirt road and all, and wound up finding the largest tractor that John Deere made. It was a 58 820.
They're kind of hard to find, right?
They're hard to find, but you
Yeah.
usually have to pay big bucks for it. So I saw this in here. I said, "Whoa, wait a minute now." You know, we had a rental car. I was dressed up. Wasn't wearing my work clothes. We pulled up there, and my wife said, "Oh, don't bother knocking on. You're gonna bother the guy." So I knocked on the door. The old guy come up, gentleman. There was a lot of grapefruit orchards around there. and
Yeah.
apartment houses. So I said to him, "Hey, you know, I saw that John Deere out there. Are you interested in selling it?" And he said, "Well, you know, yeah." He said, He said, "I had one fellow there came up from Utah. He offered me big bucks for it." I said, "Well, how much is big bucks?" He said, $3,000. I said, "Jesus, that's not bad."
That's pocket change, right?
Yeah, I said, "Would you take 3,500 for it?" He said, "Well, I said, I'll go down and give you a bank check and all." And then, so I said, "All right." So we went over there, and he said, "But the thing it is, the pony engine, we jump started it. It had 6-volt system, and they burned the coils out. But I towed my little Blazer, it'll start right up." So we towed it and started it up, and I said, "Well, I'm going to come in there. Once I find my niece's house, I'll put it over there." So we did.
You stored it there.
When I went over her house, I didn't even have it there. She says, "Dave," he says, "Uncle Dave," he says, "you can't buy that tractor. Everybody wants to buy it, and nobody can get the guy to sell it." I says, "All right." So he did. We wound up, that came from Queens Creek. He had
Wow.
him, yeah.
See that? You never know, right?
But that's one of them. It's a mate to the 720 that I have that I bought out of Sharon Springs, New York. Yeah. But,
So you got two of them.
well, we got a 720 same year, 58,
Oh, wow.
but it's the smaller version of it, so the lowered one. The other one, the 820 is the biggest one.
Now, when I talk to you about the Cubs that I like, the farm alts, what year are they mostly, those farm
Most
alts?
of the most popular ones go from anywhere from 46, 48 to 55, and the Cubs, once they turned with a white hood on them and yellow base on them, they got into the 56 area. Still had a white front end. And the one question that they always ask, and I make it quick, they always ask me, why do we have a narrow front end and a wide front end?
Yeah.
And it's, I says, well, narrow front ends are for cultivating most of the time. And they could go down to the end of the row, you lock one brake up, you circle right around, and
right
come back
around.
again, with cultivators and all.
Yeah.
Whereas the wide front end, there's a lot of hills and all that, they're
Yeah.
a lot more stable. You don't tip easy.
Yeah,
it's like a
they're
tricycle.
they're
You take a
they're
tricycle
a lot more.
tractor,
They're safer,
you
right?
go around the corner or
Yeah.
anything, they can tip very easy.
Yeah, they're safer. The white
But it's
front
safer
end.
than. Well, that's why that was a question I wanted to get across to a lot of people. And if we ever get to the point where we're going to discuss rebuilding the tractor or anything, I'll bring that out.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask you, do you have any international harvesters? I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Well, International Harvester was same thing as the H's and the Farmall H's and all the Cub, not the Cub. The Cub was an international. If you want it, it's an international harvester.
Oh, really?
Yes. You got a Cub, you got your little A, you got a BN, you got Farmall C's, you got Farmall H and M's,
Yeah.
Super MD.
Now they were pretty popular too, right?
Very popular.
Yeah.
Back in their days, John Deere and Farmall were basically the most competitive tractors around.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm attracted to them little ones for some reason. But I
Yeah.
gotta ask you something, Dave, before I forget. You got a manure spreader that was restored. Did you restore it?
Yeah.
It's got like brand new wood on the side. It's
Well,
green. It's a John Deere.
I'll make it quick, but 2 years ago, a fellow, Bruce, from one street over from where I worked for H.O. Penn, a Caterpillar dealer, he says, you know, Dave, he says, I got an old John Deere manure spreader. He says, you want it, you can have it. I said, oh, all my life I was looking for an old one in decent shape. We didn't pay for it, went over, got it, frozen wheels, restored the whole thing. We sandblasted it, primered and faded, and
Yeah, it
my
is
friend up the
gorgeous.
street there, Al Baroni and I, we put all brand new wood in it. We got the original
we
decals
have
and
a
everything.
picture of it too.
Yeah,
I hope they show.
Yeah. That's a
that
1935.
It looks
K
like
model.
you could put it in someone's living room.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
It's funny that is. Well, Dave, when you're having fun, time flies.
Oh yeah.
And I want to thank you for being with us here tonight.
Yeah.
And Ron, you too. I want everyone to remember, support the Berlin Lions Club because we serve. That's our motto.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to conclude the show tonight. Thank you for being here, and return next week to Racing Action Today. Thank you.
This program is brought to you in part by Just Results Weight Loss Center in Berlin, Connecticut.
The Saybrook Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and prime steaks for 40 years. Experience one of our 3 unique dining room settings, 2 with fireplaces, or relax in our cozy pub with a craft beer, wine by the glass, or specialty cocktail while enjoying a meal from our new lighter fare pub menu. Serving lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42. Gift cards always available. The Saybrook Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of routes 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.